Everyone, welcome to another episode of Unlocking Key Issues. This week I decided to do something a little different. Instead of doing Marvel and DC, I wanted to sort of branch out, and I decided Valiant was a good way to go. We're going to be looking at this book right here from November of 1992, Rye number 0. CGC acknowledges this as the first full appearance of Bloodshot, and the first appearance and origin of the new Rye, but it actually does a few other things that are kind of important that CGC doesn't mention. It basically outlines the entire history of the Valiant Universe post-Unity event, and it also sets up the Deathmate crossover between Valiant and Image that led to the first appearance of Gen 13. So it's actually a pretty significant book as far as Valiant books go. Before we actually get into it, I thought I would talk about some of the errors that can happen with this book, because there's actually quite a few. One of the more common ones is along this edge right here. There's sometimes a white line because the printing wasn't aligned properly. That one doesn't necessarily go for any extra money, but still something to look for. Up in this corner, this area can often be smudged during the printing process, so much so that sometimes the TM trademark logo is grayed out or almost blacked out, and I believe it's a kanji, go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong, but it is often blurry looking. That printing smudging that would happen became such a problem that Valiant actually tried a different kind of paper for this book for a period of time, creating a glossy variant. The glossy variant is acknowledged by CGC, and it's a little more pricey. But the glossy variant itself is sort of an error because the paper for it was actually too small for the book. And it's real easy to identify because along this edge you can actually see a bunch of the colors from the splash page on the book. So it's just the book of errors. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Here's our splash page. There's Bloodshot right there in all its glory. Something really cool about Valiant books, and not just this one, a lot of Valiant books in general, but the colors really pop in these books. I feel like you don't really necessarily see that as much as in some of the other books from the same period. But yeah, there's Bloodshot. And like I said, I'm not going to go through the whole story of this, but it's basically setting up the history of the Valiant Universe post-Unity. Got appearances of all the big names. You got Turok and Bloodshot breaking out. Some more Bloodshot panels. Look at that. That's just... I love this explosion scene. It's so vibrant. We got Archer. This also marks the death of Archer. And it marks the death of Bloodshot, which is kind of funny considering it's his first full appearance. As you can see. Ad page for another one of the books in the back. I'm not going to say a whole much about this because it's really just a long history. It's worth reading, but I just want to show the pages because the color and the art is so nice. This is actually a significant page. Right here, Solar basically comes to terms with his loved one deciding that she doesn't want to live anymore and dying. And in his mourning, he actually splits into two entities. The entity right here, seen flying off, is the one that goes off to Deathmate and leads to the crossover that Gen 13 is created out of. So that's pretty cool. Some old ads. Just some more awesome art. Here we have basically the history of the original Rye. This book was published shortly after Rye number 8, so it's basically setting up what's going to happen in Rye number 9. And here we have the first appearance of the new Rye that you see in Rye in the Future Force number 9 and onwards. But that's really the whole book. I highly recommend reading this book. It's definitely a good jump-in point for some of Valiant stuff, and it's a really good read. Basically, everyone in the Valiant universe shows up in some shape or form in this book. But that's really all there is. I hope you enjoyed. Probably Marvel next time. I'm not quite sure yet, but that's all, and take care, everyone.